After successful installation of MediaSight, you will have an icon on your desktop. Double-click this icon and a log-on screen will appear. Now enter your username and password. Your screen will look like this. Based on your access rights, your screen may look slightly different from what is being shown on your screen right now. Different users have different access rights. Hence, a different database is attached on each user PC. Now before using MediaSight, let us explain a little about its structure. All information in MediaSight is stored in a total of 35 sections, though on your PC you might get different number of sections depending upon your access rights. In each of these sections, there are questions of their further description. For example, in demographics section, the one you can see on your screen, variables like gender, age, SEC, city, occupation, etc. are stored. Similarly, in TV section, you would find daypart viewership, channels watched most often, number of hours TV is watched on weekdays and on weekends. Now you can also see various command buttons on the right hand side of MediaSight. Process. This button is used to process the data. Typically, you will press this button after you have made your desired selection. Refresh all. This button clears all your selection in one go. This also clears all the filters you may have applied. So it is always a good idea to press refresh all before making new selection. Filters. This button helps you to further thin slice the data by applying filters. Previous report. This is a handy button, especially if you have accidentally closed the output of your last selection. By pressing this, you can get the last produced table without actually processing it again, even if you had shut down the computer. Exit. This is to close the MediaSight. Similarly, you see a couple of checkboxes at the left hand side of MediaSight. To process any data from MediaSight, you will have to select one of the below checkbox, and you can select only one at a time. Now let us explain to you the use of these checkboxes. Column percentage. This is default value of MediaSight and will be used most often. You can process column percentage for any question on any cut. You will get almost all the variables on this checkbox. Number of mentions. This is a handy statistic, especially when you want to see how many activities a consumer does. When you check number of mentions, only those variables will be displayed on which this could be processed. For example, in lifestyle section, you will get only 7 variables. Average. Sometimes you would like to calculate the average value of a variable, for example age, income, expense, etc. Again, only those variables will be displayed on which this could be processed. Normalized scores. This will generate normalized scores. Standardized normalized scores. This will generate standardized normalized scores. Flip rows to columns. Its default value is unchecked. Its function is to simply transpose the output. We will explain more about this as we proceed to the end of our video. Now we come to the most important part of the MediaSight: columns and rows. All the information is stored under columns and rows. This information is further arranged in sections. You can select any selection using drop-down menu under column and rows. Now as you can see on the screen, drop-down menu of demographic section is open and we have various sections. Visual on your PC may differ depending on your access rights. At one time, you can only select one section and consequently you can process variables of one section at a time. Let's start working with default selection, that is, we have demographics selected at both rows and columns. Now as you can see, we have various checkboxes under both columns and rows. Let's click gender box in columns, and now as you can see in the pane below columns, we have a plus sign just before gender box, which indicates expandable selection. Let's click this icon, and now we have two more boxes, male and female. Now as per desire, we can select or deselect any of the box. To deselect male, we simply click male checkbox. Now we can easily get our first output by clicking the process button. Now we will try to process this table. You can see on your screen that we have gender and overall as column and SEC as row. However, we want to draw your attention to the order of columns. You can see that gender appears before overall. This is opposite to the order of the list of variables in MediaSight. It is like this because gender was selected or clicked before selecting overall in MediaSight. So we conclude that the order in which you select variables will be the order in which output will be generated by MediaSight. Now we will show you how to process this table from MediaSight. We will select gender and overall from column. Please keep in mind that we are to select gender first and overall after it. And now we select SEC from rows. Your selection should be in accordance with what you are viewing on screen. If you look at the pane below, you will find gender appearing on top of overall. This can help you to ensure your selection. Now hit the process button and you will get this output. As you would have noticed that output is produced in MS Excel. There is another thing you might have noticed in the output. Base weighted. Base refers to the total population data is representing. 3D Research represents 28.77 million males and females aged 14 to 55 of SEC A to D of top 25 cities of urban Pakistan. Please note that we cannot process an output file from MediaSight if the previous output file is open. We advise you to close the file or save it with another file name before processing your next output. MediaSight output file has a default name of Foresight Report. Now suppose you want to modify the output slightly, and this time you are only interested to see male and overall columns. Any idea how you would do it? We encourage you to try this before viewing its solution. most probably you would have done this. In case you find it difficult, there is nothing to worry about. In the bottom pane, we click on the plus icon which is lying next to gender. You can see male and female listed under gender. To deselect female, we click on it. Now, by clicking the process button, we can get our desired output. Now try running the same selection again by selecting Flip Rows to Column checkbox and observe the difference in output. If you closely observe, you will notice that this output is simply the transpose of the earlier output. The columns have interchanged or swapped their places with rows. Now we will try to generate this output from MediaSight. When we observe this table, we come to know that variables in column are from demographics section, while in row we will select lifestyle. Now to produce this output, we select the checkboxes of overall, gender and age in column. Since we only want male and age group of 14 to 18 and 46 to 55, we will click on the plus icon next to gender and age. You can see that in the below pane. Now we will deselect female and age groups we do not want in the output. Now we come to the part where we define the row of our table. As you can see, we have already selected lifestyle in row, so now we need to click on the plus icon next to leisure time activities in the upper pane in rows. It gives us the following options on expansion. Since we only want to see the activities done at least once a week and daily, we select the first two checkboxes. Did you notice that as soon as we checked the box in upper pane in row, leisure time activities box appeared in the bottom pane below. We click on the icon plus next to leisure time activities in the bottom pane. A whole list of various activities has appeared. By default, all activities are selected. Since we are only interested in three categories, that are house cleaning, purchasing groceries and items for home, and relaxing, we will deselect all the other activities. Now let's click the process button to get our output. Success! So now we have learned how to produce tables in MediaSight. Press the filter button on MediaSight. A screen like this will pop up. Now we shall explain to you these various items which are being shown on your screen. Sections. All information in MediaSight is stored in various sections. These sections are made to ease the navigation in the software. To apply a filter on any question, you have to select its section first. Questions. Once a section is selected, its relevant questions are displayed under Questions. Operators. Since we have not selected any section and question, we cannot have any operators right now. However, we will explain the function of operators. There are two types of operators. Number 1, any of the operator. This is like OR operator. For example, in age, if you select this operator with 14 to 18, 19 to 24 and 25 to 35, then all the respondents of these three age groups will be selected. You will have a better understanding of this when we will use it later on in the video. Values. This shows further levels of the question. For example, in age, you will see various age groups here. There is another checkbox on the filter screen. Add filter. This is used to add another filter in your selection. When you check on this box, a new line would appear on your filter screen. You can select a maximum of 6 filters at a time. Now, we will explain to you the use of buttons you can see at the bottom of your screen. Calculate base. This is a very important button. It tells you the sample size behind your selection. So it is always a good idea to check the sample size before processing the output. It is advisable not to process any output where the base is less than 100. OK. This button is used to confirm the filter selection. Clear filters. It is used to clear all the selection. Cancel. You will use this button if you have cleared all the filter selections and want to exit the filter screen. Please note, you will click on the OK button if you have made some filter selection. And if you have cleared all filters, then you will be required to click on Cancel to exit the filter screen. Now hopefully you understand various buttons and their functions on the filter screen. Even if you were unable to understand some of the concepts, a little practice along with patience would make it easier for you. After all, we are not dealing with nuclear technology here. Filters are an important tool to thin slice the data. Let's understand their application with a simple example. If we want to see SEC A and SEC B combined on a certain variable, say activity during load shedding, that is, we do not want to see SEC A and SEC B separately but as a single column. How would we do it? Surely in row we will select lifestyle section, and in variable we will select activity during load shedding. But how would we combine SEC A and SEC B into a single column? Now filters can help us to solve this problem. So we press filter and a filter screen pops up. In section we select demographics. In questions we select SEC. In operator we select any of the operator, and if you recall, we told you that any of the operator is just like OR operator, and now in values we select A and B. To find out the sample size behind our selection, we simply click on the Calculate Base button. It is 2575. So now we press the OK button. We are back to the MediaSight main screen. Remember, we had selected the row, so now we will select the column. In column, we select the demographics section and then select overall. To get our output, we click on the process button. Now we will try to get the same output on a slightly different column set. You can see on your screen the column set we have mentioned before. Remember, we have already processed and displayed the first column, that is overall. So we will go back to the column on MediaSight and click on SEC for expandable selection and select A and B. We click the process button and we get our output. Now let's do a couple of things. We add numbers in D7 and E7, which are weighted base for SEC A and SEC B. Their sum should be and is equal to the number in cell C7, which is overall weighted base in for SEC A and SEC B. Please note that we have applied filter. Now this is where it gets interesting. We go back to the MediaSight screen and select all SECs in column, and now we process. You see, we are getting the same output as before. This is because of the filter we have applied. To remove the filter, we go back to the filter screen and click on Clear Filter and then click Cancel. Now we will try to apply more than one filter in a single go. Now we want to process the activity during load shedding for consumers of age group and SEC A and B aged between 14 to 24. In column, we select overall in demographic section, while in row we select activity during load shedding from lifestyle section. Now we move on to select filters. We select demographics in sections, SEC in question, any of the in operator, and in values A and B. To add another filter, we click on Add Filter. Now again we select demographics in sections, gender in questions, any of the operator, and male in values. Now we click on Add Filter. We select demographics in sections, age groups in question, any of the in operator, and 14 to 18 and 19 to 24 in values. We calculate base and it is 558, and now we produce our output. We will try to get the same output but by selecting a different operator and different values in the filter. So now we will select filters. we change the operator from any of the operator to none of the operator for the first two questions, that are SEC and gender. We also have to deselect the previous values and click the uncheck values for both questions, since we have changed their operators. If you recall, we told you that none of the operator is just like an inverse selection operator. The third filter remains the same. Now we calculate the base. Its value is 558. We click the process button and we can see that the output is identical to the previous output.